What happens when a multi-billion-dollar tech company, a company built on a moral code, goes head-to-head with a government that demands total control over its creations? Well, you get a high-stakes story of principles versus power. This is the inside story of a dramatic showdown that pitted Silicon Valley against the White House. And it all came down to this: a public ultimatum, a ticking clock, posted on social media for the entire world to see. I mean, this wasn't some quiet contract negotiation happening behind closed doors. This was a line drawn in the sand, and it set the stage for a conflict that would send ripples through the entire tech industry. So, to really understand how we got to this point, this breaking point, we need to look at the two main players in this battle. Because on one side, you have a company founded on the principle of AI safety, and on the other, an administration laser-focused on projecting military might. I mean, just look at how fundamentally different these two are. You've got Anthropic, led by CEO Dario Amodei, whose whole mission is to build AI responsibly. And then you have the Trump administration, where the policy is all about projecting strength, about military dominance. Their core philosophies were on a collision course from the very beginning. And in September of 2025, the administration made this really powerful symbolic move. They restored the historic name Department of War as a secondary title for the Department of Defense. Now, this wasn't just changing the name on the door. It was a clear signal of a new, much more aggressive philosophy. And they weren't shy about it. A White House fact sheet said the whole point was to signal a readiness to wage war. The defense secretary at the time, Pete Hegseth, put it even more bluntly. The focus was on maximum lethality, not tepid legality. Think about that phrase. That aggressive posture is the essential backdrop for this entire conflict. So this clash of ideas, it very quickly became a real practical problem. This whole fight, it wasn't really about money, it was about principles, and it was about where each side drew its absolute uncrossable red lines. And here's where the rubber really met the road. Anthropic laid out what they called their bright red lines. They would not, under any circumstances, allow their AI, Claude, to be used for fully autonomous weapons or for the mass surveillance of Americans. Simple enough, right? But the Pentagon, they insisted on a contract that allowed them to use the AI for all lawful purposes. Their argument was that no private company gets to dictate military decisions. You can see right away, there was just no middle ground here. So this was all simmering behind the scenes. What was the spark that made it all explode into the public eye? Well, it was this incident in January 2026. After an attack in Venezuela, Anthropic had reason to believe its AI had been used in the operation through a partner company. That prompted their CEO, Dario Amodei, to go public and basically shout those bright red lines from the rooftops, officially kicking off the public showdown. So, with the battle lines now drawn in public, the newly named Department of War began to apply immense, and I mean immense, pressure, escalating the situation day by day. And just look at how quickly things blew up. On February 24th, Secretary Hegseth meets with Amodei and reportedly makes threats. The very next day, a top Pentagon official goes on social media and launches this personal attack on Amodei. And by the 26th, that's when the Pentagon goes public with that final stark deadline. It was a full-court press, no question. And the government wasn't just making idle threats. They had a huge legal hammer they were ready to swing: the Defense Production Act. This is a seriously powerful law from the 1950s that basically gives the president the authority to force a private company to work for the government, all in the name of national defense. So this wasn't just about canceling a contract. They were threatening to legally compel Anthropic to obey. And yet, even with all that pressure, just 24 hours before the deadline hit, Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei, released this statement. It was a final, clear, and totally unwavering no. He was choosing to stand by his company's principles no matter what the consequences were. So, with the deadline looming and Anthropic absolutely refusing to budge, the conflict reached its dramatic climax when the highest office in the country stepped in directly. And there it is. President Trump himself weighed in on his social media platform, and he framed the issue in these starkly political terms. He called Anthropic a radical left-woke company and accused them of trying to dictate military policy. The decision was now coming directly from the commander-in-chief. And the outcome was swift, and it was absolute. A complete and total ban on the use of any Anthropic technology by any agency of the United States federal government. Period. So what did this ban actually mean? Well, it came with some serious terms.
First, an immediate stop to all use of Anthropic tech. Second, a 6-month phase-out period for agencies already using it. And third, this chilling warning of major civil and criminal consequences if Anthropic didn't cooperate during that transition. The message couldn't have been clearer. Comply or else.
Okay, so this standoff was about way more than just a dispute between one company and the government. Its resolution sent shockwaves through the tech and defense worlds. It revealed these deep divisions and raised some really fundamental questions about the future of AI. And the reaction was anything but simple. The tech community basically split right down the middle. On one side, you had major figures like OpenAI's Sam Altman, employees of Google, and even a former military AI leader like General Jack Shanahan, all supporting Anthropic. But on the other side, you had huge names like Elon Musk and the defense contractor Palmer Luckey siding firmly with the administration. And to really understand the stakes for Anthropic, you have to look at this number. At the time of the ban, the company was valued at a staggering $380 billion. They were willing to risk a massive business, a planned IPO, everything to stand by their principles. It just shows you how seriously they took those bright red lines. You know, this whole thing didn't happen in a vacuum. Just a couple of months before all this, the administration had issued an executive order to stop states like California from passing their own AI safety rules. So when you look at it that way, this fits into a much broader pattern of centralizing control over AI policy at the federal level, with a clear focus on development over safety. So what this whole incredible episode leaves us with is a fundamental question for our time. As AI gets more and more powerful and becomes more deeply tangled with our national security, who actually gets to decide its limits? Is it the people who build the tech, the military leaders who use it on the battlefield, or the politicians who are supposed to oversee it all? This standoff didn't give us the answer, but it sure forced everyone to ask the question.